All right, welcome. I have with me Leslie, the astrologer, and we're going to dive into, all things astrology right now. There's a lot going on, so we'll have plenty to talk about right now. But first off, how are you feeling? And Pluto just transitioned into Aquarius, so.
Yeah, I feel lighter. Do you feel lighter by any chance? Or you had said you had a lot of other things going on in your personal chart, but do you feel like the overall energy is like there's some truths coming out, you know?
Yeah,
Um, I feel like, there's been a lot of fighting. It's gotten very bad with Pluto being in Capricorn since 2008. I feel like there's just been a lot of division based on people really wanting concrete beliefs. Like there's safety in feeling that things are black and white, right? Like this is the truth and that is not the truth. And now I feel like with Pluto in Aquarius doesn't care what you think the truth is. You know, it's just gonna so I do feel like there's some like awakenings happening, people going, oh my God, I practically disowned my family members over A, B, and C. And I don't even know if they're wrong anymore. That kind of an energy. Also, there was a lot of just breakdown in systems, breakdowns with boundaries, that to the point where it may have been a little dangerous. We need boundaries and systems and structures. So one of
absolutely.
the things about Saturn is it went into Pisces, and Pisces is kind of a boundaryless kind of, not it's water, and water doesn't have its own shape unless it's in something. So I feel like, particularly if you're a water sign, that um, Saturn moved into Pisces on March 6th.
Hmm.
So I feel like for a Scorpio, if you have something prominent in Scorpio, Pisces, and or Cancer, so rising sign, moon, or sun sign, you may really like this energy because it's going to give you an opportunity to take all that watery, the creative energy, the intuitive energy. It's hard to structure that. And people who have those gifts have a hard time structuring that into something that they can offer as a product, to people
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
Saturn could be difficult. Saturn usually is difficult because it's really like the laws of physics. If that's what it is. And you can't get around the laws of physics as we're living here. But it's kind of going to help, I think, more of the intuitive um, people feel a little bit more grounded and be able to create a structure. And I've been using the analogy of like a dam. Like you'll dam up water of a river so that it's there for you when you need to drink it later. That's sort of what Saturn does, or it puts it in a cup, it puts it in a receptacle, so it's there for you later. So that's all of your dreams, sort of the universe giving you an opportunity to create within the next 2.5 to 3 years a reality, to hold that vision. And the dream, if there's a dream you had that seems kind of unrealistic, if you can be realistic about it, you actually might be able to do it.
Yeah.
So
That's what, yeah,
that's
I am feeling really good about it. Because my moon is in Pisces and
yeah.
my north node's in Pisces too. So it's
Mm-hmm.
feeling really good, and it's feeling very yeah, just it's grounding me because with that moon in Pisces, I can be very dreamy and
Yeah.
kind of all over the place sometimes. So it
ADD.
does, yeah, it does feel very, very grounding in a really good way, like almost empowering and like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and you're talking about branding, and like I feel like I can almost finally I can bring my services, I can really ground them now, it feels like. So that's really
Yeah.
exciting.
I'm
Yeah.
feeling that way too. And this is the Saturn return of when I first actually got peaked in the astrology that I believe in, which is, I was one of those people that was like, oh, astrology's BS, because all I knew was sun signs. And that's what most people know.
Yeah.
Like I'm a Leo, or I'm actually a Gemini, and there was a book and it only talked about the sun and the moon together. And it kind of, I'm a Gemini with a Cancer moon. So a description of that. And I was like, oh my God, this is so me. And then somebody said, did you know that all the planets were in a sign when you were born? That's what your astrology chart was. I want to know where all my planets are. Where
Yeah.
so, that was almost 30 years ago. So for me, I feel like now it's becoming a real, like 27 years ago, nobody wanted to buy astrology readings. It was a very, very small market. And it was mostly superstitious people.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I feel like with Pluto entering Aquarius, which is segue into that, this is why this spring feels so new,
Yeah.
because these two major planets moved into new signs. And these are slow moving planets. So they color kind of an era and a generation.
Hmm.
So that's why it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a super big
But
deal. Yeah, because it was 12 years ago since it would last ingressed into in Capricorn. So, and we're starting
yeah,
this is a new 20-year cycle
this
with,
is 20 years.
yeah.
So from kind of around, right around when the old school Gen X, the last analog between the boomers and kind of like the middle of Gen X, like there was this early Gen X, and it only lasted 10 years because, the planets move in an elliptical. So if the zodiac was like just this ring around the circle, ooh, my arm disappeared. If it was a ring around and the planets are going through it, it kind of like got narrow, so when the orbit of Pluto back in the 60s and the 70s, it only stayed in Pluto for like 10 years, and then it's only stayed in Libra for like 12 years, and then it only stayed in Sagittarius, and like it's only stayed in for less than 20 years. Usually Pluto stays in a sign for 20 years, but we have this really fast moving think about how much has transformed it, just in the last 75 years. Like
Yeah.
with Pluto is changing signs rapidly. So now, the universe is giving us a chance to okay, we have 20 full years to transform, to really kind of not, there's two things that could happen. We can use technology to destroy ourselves, or we can use it to be more humanitarian. That's what Pluto is challenging us to do right now, because Aquarius is technology. It's also altruism, and it's also kind of respecting everyone's individual uniqueness
Yeah.
and trying to create a society for everyone that respects everyone's uniqueness
Yeah. Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah. We're starting to see that for sure. I mean, I was walking
Mm-hmm.
into, I don't know if you've ever been to Trader Joe's, but
Oh
in
yeah.
California, and now they took off the sexes, and it's just like unisex bathroom. It's like, okay,
That's weird.
welcome to the age of Aquarius here,
Yep.
where you can choose what sex you want to be.
Well, but we're also learning things. Like something I didn't know was that there are people who are born physically one sex, but genetically they're another. Like there are people with uterus and that have X and Y chromosomes, and they look like men from the waist up. They grow chest hair, they grow beards and mustache, but from the waist down, they're anatomically women, but genetically they feel like men. And this is something we didn't know before, and there's many cultures that recognize way more than, so we're still learning, and there's always someone that might take advantage of that. But that's what Pluto in Aquarius is about. It's about, okay, wait a minute, I had no idea. Like I didn't know this and I'm a nurse, and I just learned this recently,
Yeah.
that is something that there are people that from the time that they're kids, they really feel like boys. But then there's people who have mental illnesses, so both things can exist. People
Yeah.
who are just deciding they want to be a man, and there are people who are, it's scientifically, genetically, that there's, this, it can actually be physically seen. And it's just like the last time that Pluto was in Aquarius, we didn't even know it existed.
Right.
We did not know Pluto existed. We couldn't see it. But we discovered Uranus. And by we, I mean humans. Like we had telescopes for the first time and they discovered Uranus. It was the first planet we could see without the naked eye. And they were like, oh, holy crap, there's more out there than we knew. We didn't know that was there. So that's the kind of thing that Pluto in Aquarius can bring. It could bring aliens here, or we find out they've been here all along. It's that weird. That's what people probably on this continent felt like when all of a sudden people started coming over in ships. They never saw people, they were all living their lives, Native Americans and stuff. And then all of a sudden these weird looking people show up with really light skin. They probably felt like they were being invaded by aliens.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And that is the weirdness of Pluto in Aquarius.
Yeah. And it has to do with like foreign entities, right? Because of actually a couple of years ago, scientists discovered this foreign object that came into our solar system. They don't know what it is. Some people think it's like an ancient spaceship, and others just think it's just a rock, but it's like this foreign thing from another galaxy. Some people think it's like like observing us or something.
Yeah, it's like and that is the whole thing that just passed us with since August. We've had Mars in Gemini, and Gemini is logic, squaring Neptune in Pisces.
Yeah.
So when there's a square, it energizes things. So it's like energizing the delusions, and the doublespeak and the half truths, and people getting upset and having meltdowns because they think they know what the truth is, and then they're getting this information that's so weird. There's cognitive dissonance. So there's been a lot of like meltdown energy from August up until it's starting to go away now, because people are finally going, you know what? I don't know anything. And the only way to learn anything is to kind of accept there are things we don't know. We don't have all the information. The next 20 years are going to be extremely transformational, because that's what Aquarius is. It's wisdom, it's knowledge, it's technology. Think about how many thousands of years did astronomers think that Saturn was the last planet, the Earth was the center of the universe. That's what they thought.
Yeah.
And so we may have some consciousness shifting insights and rude awakenings, both enlightenment and rude awakening. That's what's coming the next 20 years.
Yeah, for sure. And on the topic of like technology, like we have artificial intelligence coming out strongly now, and crypto and the blockchain. These are all going to change the world as we know it. They're just changing right now. And technology,
all very Aquarian. Yeah.
Yeah. And technology moves so fast that it's hard. It takes a while for us to catch up to it, if we even ever catch up to it with our awareness and our consciousness. What this technology is doing, but it moves so much faster than we're able to kind of realize.
And that's what's different between the last time Pluto was in Aquarius and this time. It's that, we were expanding, and kind of getting rid of cultures that were, the opposite of what you would think Aquarius is, just very earthy cultures that were just living on the land, nomadic kind of, and then also we come with our technology, and, so it was kind of expansive and fast in that way. But as far as, I feel like exactly what you're saying, like the computers are getting smarter than we are, quicker than we are. Computers are evolving faster than we are, and that's a little scary. And that is why Aquarius also has to answer to Saturn, because we need grounding and boundaries. Pluto is always the energy that will destroy us if we don't transform from it.
Yeah.
So how do we want to transform? Do we want to use technology to save the earth and create a really expansive society, or is it going to be artificial intelligence and everybody locked into their computers? And artificial intelligence, we've had a little preview of how easy it is. I don't know if you've had any weird experiences since August of losing your credit card number, or weird things like that. Or I know I have all new credit card numbers because somehow I had a lot of like imposters and things swirling around me. A couple of my other astrology friends have had imposters make duplicates of their Instagram pages, and then were reaching out and taking money from their clients.
Yeah.
So
I
I
mean,
don't know if you had anything like that.
I've had a lot of technology stuff happen, like really frustrating, like things changing. Oh, so my wife Amanda, we've had these international phone plans, and I think around that time, probably in October or something, they just cut her off the plan, and she's like, "Why isn't it working? We've been using this for like literally a year and a half, 2 years." They just cut her off, and they're like, "Oh, it says in the contract in the fine print that if you're living abroad for like more than a year, then we're just going to cut you off."
In the fine print.
Yeah. Like, oh, thanks for telling about that. But then somehow my plan is still working, so it doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
And then she bought the newest iPhone, and that doesn't even have a SIM card anymore because technology has evolved so much. So now it's an eSIM. It's just like an electric SIM card, but it's not a physical one.
Yeah.
And
why would it be phones? Why would it be phones that got messed up? Because what was involved in that Mars square Neptune?
Well, communication.
Mars was in Gemini, which is communication and telephones.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of, it's sort of, the technology of the internet is Aquarius, but the way you and I use it is Gemini, so that we can talk to each other, even though we're on other sides of the globe from each other, and we can text each other and email each other. That's all Gemini activity, but the technology is Aquarius. So that technology is evolving. And Neptune dissolves things. So, it's dissolving the old ways. It was the dissolving your old plan, shut off your phone.
Oh, God. Yeah. And there's other things. I don't even want to go into it, but there's a whole lot of stuff we've been doing. Okay, so let's talk about the Pluto. So it's coming out of Capricorn. The last 12 years been in Capricorn, or more than 12 years. But it's going to take about a year and a half for it to completely into Aquarius. So we're in like the next year and a half is just like a major transitioning period. And,
this is how generations are kind of, there's no real black and white cutoff. It's not like, okay, Generation X is from 1960 to 1972. Boom. You see how Pluto rules our generations, right?
Yeah.
And it's moving back and forth. So there's going to be people born right now that are part of that Aquarius generation. And then when it goes retrograde, there's going to be people that are more aligned with the Capricorn generation. So that's why it's not like really cut and dry. Now, before Pluto went into Capricorn, it was in Sagittarius, and there was an economic bust, right? There was and because that's literally physical structures like houses and buildings and corporations.
Right.
So there was like all the corporations were going bust, and they needed a bailout, because we're trying to patch up the system, right? Oh no, it's a physical structure almost, and they're just patching it up with bubble gum and tape. Like, that's what they did with the financial system, right? And then the crypto people came along around that time and were like, screw this. We're going to do our own thing.
We're going to create a new system.
We're going to create a new structure and a new system. So it's been a sort of, almost like a baby. It can't, kind of like cooking in there. And now, so it's going to be, I feel like this might be crypto's time. Like people are taking, I'm seeing more and more, you know, especially newer companies, small companies, you know, I know they're like accepting crypto as payment. Some of
Wow.
the online companies, you know, so it
Yeah.
seems like it's something that it's going to transform, because I believe there's some Aquarius energy. You know the crypto charts better
Yeah.
than I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there Aquarius energy in the crypto charts? Because it's
Yeah,
technology
we could
based.
look at the Bitcoin chart, but yeah, I mean, I believe Aquarius is the sign of cryptocurrencies, right? Because it's technology and
Yeah,
it's
it's
decentralized.
electronic. It's
Yeah, it's
electricity.
electronic. Exactly. It's run, kind of
Mhm.
in a network, but we can't see it, but it's just like and it's an electric network.
Right. And that just reminds me that the last time Pluto was in Aquarius is when Ben Franklin discovered electricity. You know, the whole story with the kite and everything. And was
Oh,
like, if we could figure out a way to harness this, we could have something. So he had, it was kind of like a eureka moment.
wow, yeah. So this is I don't know if you can see this. This is
I can see it. Yes, there's a
there's the
lot of
Bitcoin
Aquarius in
chart.
that chart. Yep.
Uh,
Mercury in Aquarius in the sixth house, which is the way people, actually deal with it in a routine way, is on the computer, because it's Mercury in Aquarius,
oh yeah, in the sixth house, yeah.
and it's sixth house routines.
Well, so I don't know if you know much about Bitcoin, but it runs off. The way it works is it runs off of what's called proof of work. So there's literally like thousands or millions of people that literally mine blocks of Bitcoin. It's kind of hard to explain, but they solve
It's
like
all, is this a virtual mining?
on their computer, they solve like complex
Yes.
math equations to mine
Okay.
Bitcoin. So they have to put in work to mine the Bitcoin. So it's called proof of work. And then that helps the network grow and expand.
Okay.
Yeah,
And that's the sixth house of work.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the sun is
Oh,
in the
and
sixth house as
by
well.
the way, speaking of Mercury, because Mercury is considered to be exalted in Aquarius, but it is also considered to be exalted in Virgo. I know you had asked me that once.
Okay.
It's dignified in Virgo, but before we knew that Uranus existed, there was so that's why it belonged to Gemini and Virgo.
Okay.
Mercury, and they felt that it was exalted. So the old school is exalted in Virgo, and the new school post Aquarius, post Uranus's discovery, is that it's exalted in Uranus. So
Okay.
that's us. Mercury in Aquarius is like, that's using the internet and social media and texting people. So yeah,
Yeah.
see where Pluto is now. Where is a Mercury? Is that 2 degrees?
2 degrees. Yeah.
Okay, so it's only a couple years away. It's going to go back and forth a little while.
It's going to
So
go over that. Yeah.
yeah, it looks like the next couple of years they're creating an actual regulation, and going to be creating regulations and structure around Bitcoin. So it's going to change it, and it's going to become more mainstream. It may actually become a real, they'll get rid of it completely, or it's going to become a real form of currency that's
Yeah.
pretty mainstream.
But guess what? The sun's in Capricorn, so they can't get rid of it.
Right, right. And it's the same thing with Jupiter in Capricorn. I feel like and the fact that it's moving back and forth, it's
Yeah.
sort of giving that industry an opportunity to create a real structure and real healthy boundaries. You want healthy boundaries, you know,
Yeah.
even with business. You gotta, you can't just have things, unfortunately, people are
Yeah.
going to take advantage. All it takes is one psychopathic person to take advantage of something that isn't regulated, to ruin it for everyone.
Uh-huh.
So that's why Saturn is also dignified when it's in Aquarius, because we need grounding for all that electricity and all that technology. It needs to be grounded in reality. And that's the thing that's so crazy about AI. That's very Uranus and Taurus to me. It's almost like it's taking its own form now. Starting with artwork, right? Because Taurus is art. So it's all harmless right now because it's artwork and it's pretty.
Actually, there's an AI that makes artwork. It's unbelievable. It's
I've
my
seen
wife and I
some
have been using
incredible.
it. You literally type out like anything, any description of like we wrote out like soulmates in a field in a Merkaba, and it like did it, and it just like drew it
Mhm.
out, and it was like, what?
Oh, I know, it's crazy.
Yeah,
It's some of it's crazy, and it's generating fast. Like
Mhm.
my fear is when we're not really able to tell, and this is already happening, the difference between when something's been just AI created, or if is that an actual person talking to me on on the television or over the internet, or am I interacting with AI and I don't know it? Like that's, things can always go either way, and it is up to us to sort of, use our wisdom to guide ourselves into not allowing, like you said, the technology to become the thing that evolves so fast it's smarter than we are. you know
Yeah. So what we want the technology to work for us, not to enslave us.
Right,
Right?
exactly. And
Yeah.
we're already kind of enslaved by it.
Yeah, to some
Everyone's
degree.
looking at their phone all the time, you
Yeah. So
know?
we don't want to fall prey to that. So
Right. You don't
it's
want to
all
be
our
controlled
individual,
by it either.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's all our individual choice if what we want to do,
Mm-hmm.
but what kind of adventure we want to go on on this next phase.
Right.
Yeah.
So the other thing that makes this spring ultra spring is the sun did go into the spring solstice at about 18 hours earlier than usual on March 20th instead of the 21st.
Mm.
Which also brings me to that means that the sun went into Aries on March 20th this year. So some babies born on March 20th are Pisces, depending on
Oh,
where and when. Some babies born on March 20th are Aries. So my husband's a Pisces, and then I have a friend who had a baby born the same day on March 20th, and her baby's an Aries because the sun had moved
oh,
into the spring equinox early, and that's what our astrology is based on, the zodiac, the tropical zodiac. So 0 degrees of spring is 0 degrees of Aries all the time. So it came a little early, and then right the next day we had a new moon in Aries,
yeah.
and then we're going to have another new moon in Aries, and it's going to be an eclipse at 29 degrees. So we had one at 1 degree Aries, and then we're going to have one at 29 degrees Aries. So it's really, saying what are you going to be personally responsible for?
Mm.
We all have, everything is collective, right? Just a little bit. If you think about how the difference between 32 degrees Fahrenheit and 33 degrees Fahrenheit is water and liquid. I mean, ice and, solid and a liquid, and it's ice at
Yeah.
32, and just 1 degree up, it's going to melt.
Oh,
So,
I love
you
that.
know,
Yes. Yep.
all of us have a little bit to do. We use our unique individuality. You and I are unique. We're doing some unique stuff. I'm doing some weird astrology thing. You're doing some weird crypto stuff. That's what the universe is actually, instead of when it was in Capricorn, it was sort of like, I feel like it was bringing an end to that whole corporate. This is the structure. You go to work 9 to 5 and you do something practical,
Yeah.
And while Pluto was in Capricorn, it broke all that down. And everyone's like, I'm not working.
Yeah.
Everyone's dying. I'm going home to my family. I'm not working for you. I'm going to work for myself, make more money that way.
I'm gonna go live in Bali.
I'm going to go live in Bali. Exactly. Like, I'm going to be a full-time astrologer. That's what
Yeah.
happened at the end of mine.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So now it's happening with the technology. How are we going to
Yeah.
use it? Is it going to destroy us? Are we going to, were we so dependent on the system that it almost destroyed us?
Yeah.
Are we going to be so dependent on technology that it's going to be destroy us? So we need to have boundaries.
Yeah. And yeah, so Pluto's going into Aquarius. So Aquarius is our fixed ideas. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's Pluto's potentially going to really shake up kind of humanity's fixed ideas about who we are.
Right.
So this
Right.
could be very interesting. There could be ideas that we've had for a long time
Yep.
where it gets totally flipped on its axis, and we're like, oh, maybe we were totally wrong about that.
Yeah. Well, we were even talking exactly. We're, that was what was leading into it. There was this really, it was becoming really clear to everybody between August and now, looking back, that
Yeah.
there's information coming from all different sides, and not all of it is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
Because the people who are controlling the narrative are going to put their edge on it. Doesn't matter. I don't care where it's coming from. And I've had meltdowns on people because I had cognitive dissonance, and they've had meltdowns on me.
Yeah.
And I got to this point where it's like, I cannot even argue about this, because the truth is none of us are really sure. But Pluto is, like you said, it brings in that first, it's that idea that, holy crap, we really don't know anything. Like, imagine when they discovered Uranus, they were like, holy crap, there's another planet out there. Holy crap, all the things that happened. Holy crap, we're going to try to make a democratic country, because it was around 1778. That was the
Yeah.
last time it went into Aquarius. So now we're going to have to rethink and restructure what freedom looks like. What does a democracy really look like? What kind of boundaries and limitations does it need? And what things just need to be razed to the ground and start over again? That's what, because think about it's crazy. A bunch of people came over here against the king. Nobody did that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and now it's like, now though, this end generation that's going into Pluto and Aquarius are going, wait a second, what did we become free from? Affordable healthcare? Or, the monarchy is not really running anything. They're just symbolic now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean the last time Pluto ingressed from Sagittarius into Capricorn, we saw a financial collapse. So Pluto going from Capricorn
Yep.
to Aquarius, like, are we gonna see like a
We had
collapse,
one.
like a collapse of the internet, or like
No, the tech company banks crashed,
oh right, yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? The
yeah,
tech,
totally. Yeah,
right? And think about it, it was the end of Pluto in Capricorn. So first we had those train accidents. Did you hear about those in
oh
Ohio?
yeah,
And those brakes were for like 1800s technology, like from the late 1800s, and they'd been trying to force them to update their infrastructure for a long time.
whoa,
And nobody wanted to it's a responsibility. No one wants to pay for that.
yeah,
So, and then this happened. So that's a breakdown, right, of infrastructure.
yeah,
And then the tech banks, like, I think a few days later, crashed. So I
yeah.
saw a meme. It was like, I'm like, wait a minute, is it bank meltdown season already? I didn't take down my train crash decorations yet.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
But yeah, and so, like, the time before, I don't know if you remember, it was 1995, 1996. It was 1996 really that it was changing.
Yeah.
And there was a plane that exploded, because Sagittarius is airplanes, and it's also foreign affairs. So
Uh-huh.
if you think about from 95 until 2008, it was all about foreign affairs, foreign wars, and planes exploding. We had JFK's son had a plane crash. There
Yeah.
was a plane that exploded in Long Island, and it was thought for a long time it was a terrorist attack, and it wasn't. We had 9/11. And then right before it went into Capricorn, we had a real estate meltdown
Yeah.
in 2008. So it is, things kind of explode, things that aren't solid, things that aren't grounded. If we're taking too many shortcuts and chipping away, this is when, Pluto can implode and destroy things,
Yeah,
or
so
we can transform.
yeah, definitely transform. It's
Let's lean towards
easier,
transform.
gonna be easier if we let it transform us rather than fight against it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And it really does have to be sort of an all-inclusive, respect the individual so that we can all live together. Because we all got to live on this planet. There's just no way around it. You're not gonna, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we want to use our technology to make the world a better place to live in.
Yeah.
Instead of.
And we definitely can. We definitely can create sustainable ways of living and really come together in community and make it really awesome. And like have permaculture, like be growing our own food, like eating delicious organic food every day. Like you make it really good. And we just gotta make sure we avoid the kind of the shadow sides of it, which it's
the
gonna be
shadow
hard.
sides is sort of giving up the control, right? And let the machines control us.
Yeah. Right.
This is also the opposite sign of the baby boomers, Pluto. The baby boomers were born under Pluto and Leo.
Oh.
And so this is the opposite. So that was sort of like it was a very creative time. You think of Woodstock and rock and roll, and, they invented supermodels and superstars, but it's all about me. It's like, I don't want to give up the power. Leo wants to stay in power, and a lot of younger people will control. It's like, you guys are 90. When are you going to retire?
Yeah. Totally.
They don't like to, they like their stuff and they want to keep it. They like their power. It works for them,
Yeah.
So, but this is the opposite side. It's like, did you put your ego too much in that? Was there too much ego in that generation and not enough, of the Aquarius, the dawning of the Aquarius that they championed initially in that song, right?
Yeah. So then also, so yeah, when Pluto was in Capricorn, so the last like 4 years or so, so Saturn was in Capricorn. I guess that was what, like 2019 or something, the 2021 or something like that.
Saturn was in Capricorn.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So it went into. It was like going back and forth a little bit. No, it was in Aquarius for the last like 2.5, 3 years. I think it went into Aquarius March 2020.
Yeah. So,
and that was like the thing that kept our society together was technology, because nobody was leaving the house.
Yeah. So, I mean, but it was it's basically it's two ruling signs, like Capricorn, and then went into Aquarius. And so kind of Saturn was really kind of in charge for a while there. And now it's just gone into Pisces, but Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, is in Pisces. So, now Saturn's kind of in the house with Neptune, and Neptune dominates there. So, I'm seeing it as Saturn kind of losing that power there. So maybe it's like the top down, approach to society is kind of, I don't know. It's
like the boss is being a little bit more compassionate and forgiving.
Yeah, finally, yeah.
Let me hold that for you, right? Because I was Saturn is a structure.
Yeah.
And Pisces is compassion. It could also be a martyr. It could also be a shapeshifter. Everything's got an up and a down, right? We all got the good and the bad side, the light and the dark side, everything and everyone. And we all want everything to be one or the other to make it easy, but it's just not. Everyone's always like, oh, don't tell me anything bad. But yeah, Saturn's creating that structure for that dreamy, the creative, spiritual, the intangible,
Yeah. And now right after Saturn went into Pisces, then we have this equinox. And then the new moon at 0 degrees Aries. So it's like and then right after Pluto goes into Aquarius. So it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like a whole new a whole new chapter, right? Like
it is
beginning.
Yeah. So astrological New Year used to always be the first day of spring equinox. And that also used to be when we celebrated the holidays. But I guess they wanted to bunch all the holidays together make it easier, sometime around the 1600s.
Yeah.
But up until like 400 years ago, this was the new year. You know, it would be the first couple days that the sun was in the equinox. And it makes sense. And it does, it's because it's, you know, equal light and dark. So we get in touch with both our light and shadow side, but the light's going to be predominant over the dark, right? Until we get to the fall.
Okay.
Fall equinox. Yep.
Yeah.
This
So
is super new, super new. We are basically planting the seeds for the next 20 years right now.
yeah.
And the gifts that we have are this really nice I like this Saturn in Pisces. To me, says be realistic, but turn your dream into a reality. It may have
Yeah.
not been realistic before, it might be realistic now. You know, I started studying astrology in the 90s. I didn't even have a virtual way to take a payment from somebody. You know, they
Yeah.
didn't give out credit card machines to any, there was no PayPal or Venmo, there was no internet, and people just, the only thing they knew of astrology was your horoscope in the paper. So it wasn't no one was really interested. That was the last time Saturn was in Pisces. Now it's like, oh, now it's a realistic dream. Now you can create a
Yeah.
structure and do your healing work.
Yeah. And I feel like, especially the last couple of months with like Pluto at 29 degrees and then Saturn at 29 degrees, like that was
It's all
really intense.
ending, wrap it up. Yeah.
It's like really intense endings. And it was like, and now I'm like so ready to like put that behind me. I'm like, okay, let's start a whole new chapter. So this feels like
Yeah.
really good. It does
Yeah.
feel like a clean slate
Yeah.
in a
And
lot
it's
of ways.
lighter. It's like cooler. Things have cooled off, right?
Yeah.
You know, Pluto is a kind of a, it's like a nuclear bomb, and you want to keep that cool.
Yeah.
Aquarius is ice. It's winter. It's cold. You know, so
Uh-huh.
it's better than it was within Capricorn. It was like brittle wood getting set on fire. There's so many fires. I mean, at least on the West Coast here, we were just, everything was burning to the ground. I'm telling you, it's like
Yeah.
ever since it even got close to Aquarius, it's been raining, it's been snowing, it's been cold, and it's kind of chilled things out a little bit. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Mm. So yeah, it feels really good. But so now's a great time to set your like 20-year goals for the next chapter, maybe
yes,
like your big vision
yes,
of like what you want to create in the next 20 years.
yeah.
Um, so that's really exciting. And Saturn's helping to ground our visions and our dreams. So
It's
it,
creating a structure for it.
yeah. And break it down into steps and make it practical. And that's what I'm doing for myself and with my clients as well. So that's been really exciting. Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels good.
So yeah, there is a Mercury retrograde and eclipse season coming up, and it's happening from like April 15th until about May 15th. There's a lot going on in between those two dates. So
Yeah.
that's a good time to go back, because the other thing this energy is kind of saying is, it's almost saying everything that you want and everything that you need to make your dreams come alive, you pretty much already have all the tools. You don't need to add something else. You don't need to go out and buy a whole bunch of expensive stuff to set up your business or whatever it is that you're trying to pursue. Like, kind of, it's like you should use those talents that you already have and just keep working on those.
Mhm.
And the other thing I was going to say, which I can't remember. Anyway, go ahead. What were you going to
All
say?
right, well, we could look at the chart here. So
Oh, yeah, the Mercury retrograde, and
yeah.
yeah, so that's the time you just kind of want to sort of go back and finish old projects and kind of revisit an old idea or an old dream. And then by June 1st, you're going to know exactly if you're on the right path.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the first solar eclipse at
Yeah.
29 Aries. So that's finding, what are you capable of as an individual? I feel like that's finding out that you are capable of doing more than you thought you were on your own. That's people
Mm.
finding that inner strength, that usually it's, I can't do but the things that you thought you would never be able to do on your own. I feel
Okay.
like that's going to uncover that. It could also uncover arguments and fights and hidden things that you've been upset about that you haven't quite figured out how to express. It
Yeah.
could be that kind of stuff, but wherever that falls in your chart, it's going to uncover something. For
That's
me, that's my money house. So hoping it uncovers some money.
yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I like
Like
it.
I'm capable of making more money than I thought I was. So,
Yeah.
where is it in your chart? What does Aries rule?
It's in my
Where's,
that's conjunct my ascendant.
oh,
Wow. Because well, my
what's,
ascendant's at 26 degrees Aries.
oh, so that's really close. So
Yeah.
that's going to change how I feel like it's going to uncover that's just going to change how you approach the world in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
I feel
that
like I'm
sets
coming
everything up.
out a lot more visible in the world with like my brand and like people are signing up for sessions and because in the
Yeah.
past I worked a lot with my wife and we like teamed up. But now it's kind of me going out on my own more. Yeah, that's Aries, right? That's like Aries
Yep.
ascendant.
On your own. Yep.
Going out on my own, yeah, doing my
And
thing.
doing it, being a first, being a little bit of a pioneer in whatever you're doing.
Oh, I'm definitely doing that with the crypto astrology.
Crypto astrology, yeah, that's a pioneer.
That's some
That's
serious
definitely
pioneering.
pioneering.
Yeah, yeah. It's fun. I like it. It's exciting.
Yep.
It's
We got
adventurous.
Mercury pretty close to Uranus in that chart too. So you have to watch out for like, people exploding or saying things sort of a little bit too quickly. You got to watch your tongue that day.
Oh yeah, that'll be exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have let's go to the next lunar eclipse. I think this is it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lunar
Okay. So
eclipse a couple weeks later.
at 14 degrees. So this is kind of echoing the energy of November
Yeah.
7th, 14th, around that time,
Yeah.
there was an election here and things were weird. I remember a meteor fell out of the sky and hit somebody's barn. That's like a one in a million, you know, one a gazillion. Like
Oh my
there
gosh.
was no other structures and the meteor hit the guy's barn with cows, right? Because it was Taurus.
Hmm.
Um, but we
Wow.
have so it's interesting. There could be an echo of from last fall. So be
That was
interesting to
when
see how that manifests.
the FTX collapse happened in crypto.
Oh,
So that was really intense.
mm-hmm.
This is pretty similar energy. But the north, so the sun is with the north node. That's pretty significant. The moon's with the south node.
Yeah. A
So
little bit far, but yeah.
there's gonna be some
But
things
that's
that are
always when there's an eclipse. The nodes are involved. They cross over the nodes. That's what causes the eclipse. That's what the nodes are. So they're kind of letting you know, like those are little points of karma. And then when the eclipses happen, it kind of brings to light those details that are sort of
okay.
hidden in the nodes. But
Yeah,
yeah,
gotcha.
but yeah.
So
So
then
it
this
is. It's going to have to do now. Saturn and Pluto are in completely different signs than they were in last fall. So
right.
this might be this, and Saturn is in, isn't Venus is in Pisces in the crypto chart. So Saturn is kind of making it real.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, yeah, and there's regulations that are coming in and
Yeah.
yeah,
And so
the
they
whole
might be good. It might be beneficial to everyone. Saturn is working with the nodes. See how the nodes are at 4 degrees and Saturn is at 5. So it's sextiling the north node and trining the south node. So it's working. And those are all financial energies. Scorpio is investments, Taurus is money and
yeah,
material possessions. So this could be good. It could be like, your crypto dream. Now, you know what else I'm seeing in here? There's a mystic rectangle
uh-huh.
happening between the nodes. If you would include the nodes, and then Saturn, and what else? It might be out of. Oh,
Oh,
it's Taurus. It's the node, the north and south node, and then actually it's the part of fortune. So I don't know if that really counts as a mystic rectangle,
Yeah, I
actually.
recently added that. Yeah,
Because that's not enough solid things. It's the part of fortune in the
yeah.
nodes are not like actual
Yeah.
things, like they're calculations. But there's a little bit of an that's does say that there's an opportunity to make something out of nothing when that configuration happens.
Yeah, interesting.
It does kind of involve Mercury a little bit. So
Okay.
Mercury sextile Saturn
With the
and opposing the South Node.
so the eclipse on the on last November, we saw a lot of Scorpio South Node, like criminal activity. Like the guy, the CEO of FTX was like basically a complete criminal, in my opinion.
Mm.
Do you think we'll see more of that coming out? More of that being uncovered?
I think it will be uncovered more because what was really driving illusions home was when Mars was squaring Neptune. And in this chart, Mars and Neptune are trining.
Okay.
So, I mean, it does, because anytime Neptune's involved, there's like a little bit of an illusion created.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is when it's a trine, it's not quite as challenging. This is like more like everyone, like part of what our boundaries are going to need to entail is the fact that we are human beings living on the planet, and we have to have some kind of compassion involved in the regulations and the rules that we make. That's just because there's so much Pisces and there's Cancer, a lot of water.
Mhm.
Scorpio, this is dealing with the intangible, the human emotions and things like that. And Pisces is law, can be homelessness and martyrdom.
Yeah.
So, with Mars in Cancer trining this sort of Pisces energy, it's kind of because Cancer is a home. So it's sort of like nurture and food. So it's making sure that everyone's got a home and everyone's got food. And it may seem like a dream, but then Saturn says, hey, but if we are realistic about it, we could figure out a way to do it. I mean,
Mhm.
that's just so I feel like there's a little bit less shadiness
Really?
in the energies that are starting, like, which is really hopeful because it's
Yeah.
sort of like if you think of Pluto, the event of Pluto going into a sign, like it's almost like, okay, that's the birth chart of Pluto at 0 degrees Aquarius, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
that's sort of the beginning of that energy. What does it have with it? And it's a lot more compassionate energy than what we've been dealing with the last
Yeah.
really 12 years.
Wow. Um, but I have to say, I mean, Saturn in Pisces, I mean, Pisces also has to do with like mental insanity, right? So like, is there also a chance of like, it's also regulation. So we're like, at least in crypto, we're seeing like a lot of these new regulations. But they seem like pretty like almost like criminal, like what some of these
Mm,
regulators are trying to do.
mm.
Could it lead to kind of more mental insanity with the regulations? Could it, or do you think it's going to be more compassionate for the people?
Well, that could be martyrs. Like,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes that energy brings martyrdom. So the
Yeah.
last time Saturn was in Pisces, though, were pretty good years. And it was 1993 to 97. They if you think about worldwide what was going on, it's obviously there's always something going on somewhere, and bad things happen all the time. But on a world scale, from 93 to 97, there weren't a lot of economic busts. There weren't a lot of people declaring bankruptcy over healthcare.
Yeah.
Mental health was covered a lot more. Like it cost like nothing to go see a psychiatrist back then.
Hmm.
So things like that. That's like the reality of it, right? Because it's Saturn. but there was things going on. You know, our president at the time was having a very inappropriate affair during those years, but we didn't know about it yet. It came out after Saturn left Pisces. So, you know, nothing, no energy is ever perfect, but, you know, if you want to kind of predict what's going to happen in the future, you look at the past. And it did seem like as a society worldwide, we were all sort of trying, there's always pushback, but they were leaning in the direction of, you know, let's try to be a little bit more compassionate, you know, like I just remember being able to go to college and stuff and paying my medical bills, and it wasn't a problem like it is now. You know, it was just a different time. It was different. So, you know, I'm hoping that's what it brings, because the whole, you know, and then just Pluto in Aquarius, it could either be a lot of little revolutions, people, you know, becoming rebellious and little rebellions happening, or it could be collectively coming together to create something that, you know, is more altruistic for everyone. It's probably going to be a little bit of both.
Oh yeah, I think for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because you just don't get change without a little bit of challenge, right? So we're probably going to see, little revolutions here and there, and we're going to see altruistic movements as well.
Okay.
But insanity is more Aquarius and Uranus. Uranus is the crazy planet. Pisces is more like monks and martyrs and nuns.
Well, I was thinking like 12th house, like sometimes people.
That is true. It is. It can be jail, and it can be a psych ward.
Yeah, exactly.
So it can be prisoners. You're correct. That's correct.
And we have a couple people in our network that went insane last year, kind of.
Oh yeah.
One of them has a Pisces moon, and yeah, she went into it a kind of an insane asylum sort of thing last year.
Oh yeah, and it's just hard for water signs in general. We absorb everything, everything. You absorb. You know, what do people do with water? They throw their trash in the water. They flush the toilet. You know, so you're a water sign. A lot of times people dump their toxicity on you, and those people internalize it and lose their minds.
Right.
But yeah, they can they're picking up on, water signs are picking up on things that other people can't see, feel, or hear.
Yeah, the unconscious. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that makes them feel very isolated sometimes, because you can't really talk about, you know, these intangible things. Sometimes people just look at you like you're cross-eyed, like you're crazy.
Well, tell me about it. My Pisces moon is in the 12th house.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But Pisces energy does good in the 12th house. You know, even the moon is okay in the 12th house, because it means that you just, you know, if you need to go behind the scenes and take care of yourself, you're going to do it.
Oh yeah, I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I've learned to be able to do that. Yeah. Took a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that feels good for today. That was good. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, we should talk about those upcoming eclipses and Mercury retrograde in more depth.
We could,
we have time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we could definitely do that next month for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jack.
Yeah. Thanks.
It's been nice to see you and talk to you, and finally got the Zoom going, worked out the kinks during the Mars square Neptune.